Hello everyone. For our Global Edge project, we decided to investigate South Korea. It is located in East Asia and occupies the southern portion of the Korean peninsula. South Korea is known for its rich culture, advanced technology, and a strong economy. Over the past few decades, it has transformed from a war-torn nation into a global leader in innovation, education, and business. Companies like Samsung have become one of the most developed and influential companies in Asia. Look, Hyundai, and LG are perfect examples of how Korea's industries have grown to compete on the global world stage. Although South Korea continues to adapt global standards and address domestic challenges, it remains a fairly traditional and conservative society. This is often reflected in the business environment, where issues such as nepotism, discrimination, and workplace harassment can still occur. The strong hierarchical culture can also make it difficult for employees to speak up or report unethical behavior. One of the biggest ethical challenges in South Korean business is corruption and bribery. These problems are most common in public procurement sector, where favoritism and bribery have historically influenced the awarding of contracts. Large family conglomerates, also known as chaebols, have also been involved in corruption scandals, with some leaders facing charges for tax evasion and bribery. To address these issues, the South Korean government has introduced stricter labor and anti-corruption laws. For example, facilitation of payments to public officials are not allowed. Even small gifts given in connection with official duties can be considered bribery. Company directors can be held liable if they approve or ignore corruption acts within their organizations. Additionally, whistleblowers are now protected by the law and might even receive financial rewards if the reports help to recover public funds. From an international business perspective, these efforts are crucial. Global investors and partners increasingly prioritize ethical practices, transparency, and equality. When a country ensures fair labor conditions and combats corruption, it not only protects workers and improves corporate culture, but also strengthens its international reputation and long-term competitiveness in the global market.
Hi everyone, in my part of the project I will be talking about bribery and corruption in South Korea and how these issues affect business ethics and international trade. South Korea has a strong economy and is generally seen as one of the more transparent countries in Asia. But even with all that progress, corruption hasn't completely disappeared, especially in industries that deal closely with the government or large public projects. So, which industries in South Korea face the highest risk of bribery? Mainly construction, real estate, energy, defense, and healthcare. These sectors usually require government permits, funding, or contracts, which can make them more vulnerable to unfair advantages or bribery during the bidding process. What about the lowest risk sectors? Those would be technology, education, consumer goods, retail, and finance. These are mostly private industries that work under strict compliance systems and have less direct contact with the government officials, so they're less exposed to corruption. To deal with these issues, South Korea introduced the Kim Young-ran Act in 2016. This law limits the values of gifts, meals, or money that can be offered to public officials, journalists, and teachers, and completely bans large bribes. It was an important step toward improving transparency and accountability across all areas of society. According to the Corruption Perceptions Index, South Korea scores around 61 out of 100, which shows that it's doing fairly well, but there is still room to grow, especially when it comes to enforcing laws and maintaining public trust. For international businesses, understanding these risks is really important because companies that operate in South Korea, especially in high-risk sectors, need to make sure they strictly follow anti-bribery laws. Because doing that not only protects them from legal problems, but it also helps build trust and good reputation with Korean partners and with consumers. So to wrap it up, South Korea has made great success and progress in reducing corruption, but the real success still depends on staying ethical, transparent, and respectful of local laws.
Hi everyone, my name is Celia and I'm gonna talk about the macroeconomic perspective and the conclusion of South Korea. When analyzing South Korea from a macro perspective, it is clear how a country can combine strong economic development with complex ethical and cultural challenges. According to the Global Edge website, South Korea has a mixed economy system, which allows private companies to operate freely while the government regulates and supports strategic sectors, particularly in manufacturing and technology. This model has helped South Korea become one of the most advantaged and globalized economies in the world, with a GDP of over 2.5 trillion US dollars and sports ranking among the top 10 globally. The South Korean economy relies heavily on manufacturing, especially electronics, automobiles, and industrial machinery. This creates significant opportunities for international business, but it also means that foreign companies must fully understand local laws and ethical standards, including worker rights and anti-bribery regulation. A destructive future of the South Korean business environment is the chaebols, large family-owned conglomerates that dominate the economy. While they contribute to stability and innovation, they also concentrate economic power, which can limit competitors and create inequalities for workers and smaller businesses. On the other hand, South Korea has clear strengths from an ethical and business perspective. A strong education system, constant investment in innovation and technology, and an increasing commitment to international ethical and transparency standards. This shows that despite existing all these challenges, the country strives to balance economic growth with social and corporate responsibility. In conclusion, studying South Korea provides important lessons for international business. The country demonstrates that economic growth and business ethics are not mutually exclusive but can coexist when effective policies are in place and the rights of all stakeholders are respected. Companies that understand how worker rights and anti-bribery regulation operates in South Korea can not only comply with the law but also build trust and reputation, which are essentials for long-term success. From a global perspective, South Korea shows how a country can remain competitive internationally while maintaining a commitment to social responsibility, transparency, and innovation. This macro understanding is crucial for professionals and businesses operating in foreign markets, as it allows them to design responsible, sustainable strategies aligned with local conditions. In short, South Korea teaches that success in international business depends on balance, combining economic growth, innovation, respect for human rights, and ethical practices generates real and lasting value in the global economy. Thank you.